Hello there, everybody. And, well, it has been a while, to say the least. Welcome back to another episode of The Guys Who Stared Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy, alongside Tyler Riggs. And 5 months ago, I said that we'll be back to cover the NBA playoffs. And here we are the last week of August talking about week 0 of the college football season. So I apologize. Life happens. Life happens. I graduated college. Still trying to find a job. We're still in the same studio. That's good enough. Hopefully, over the next few weeks we can announce some changes going on, try to get some new things. If my laptop will quit dying on me, I would love that. But hey, folks, as always, before we even get into this, yes, I just said we haven't done a show in 5 months. I'm still going to ask you to please like and subscribe anyway, as sad as that might sound. It does mean a lot. It only takes a few seconds of your time to just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hey, leave a comment down below because it is finally time to look at week 0.
It is, yes. I mean, the comment thing, seriously, though, if you got a hot take, drop it. We'll try to maybe address it in a future show. We plan a little bit more, kind of a weekly schedule, if you will, going forward through the college football season and beyond. So excited for that, Cade. But, yeah, let's get that discussion going. That's why we're here, man. We love to chop it up, so the more people that want to get involved in that, by all means.
Absolutely. And remember, there's no take too hot to be addressed at any point. Not on a show like this. But we do have to get started, though, because originally, in my trying not to do as much work as possible, I thought, we don't need to do a season preview yet. Week 0 will happen. There will be season previews that will come out. Nothing's going to happen.
Nothing.
I was thinking, we're going to have the Fun Ireland game. I might come up here and do a video about that. And then this happens.
Oh.
Georgia Tech upsets Florida State. And we had talked about this a little bit, Tyler, and that I had forgotten, being, lost in a whole bunch of other stuff going on. The second DJ Uiagalelei stepped out on the field for Florida State. I forgot. Oh, yeah, that is the quarterback of Florida State this year.
Yeah.
Things might not end well this year for Florida State. You have the 13-0 season last year. You have all the opt-outs. You get snubbed out of the playoffs, undeservingly so. They deserve to be in. And you have all off-season of people chirping about that. Florida State fans get to boo Kirk Herbstreit on game day and all the fun stuff building up to this. And then you get to the game. Florida State scores on their opening drive. They go for 2 on the swinging gate.
Get the fun 2-point conversion.
You're having a good time. Everything's looking good. And then Georgia Tech immediately answers. And that is okay, we might have a ball game here. Quickly offense into defense. Game starts to stall out. Florida State hits not one, but 2 50-plus yard field goals. You get a 59-yard field goal before halftime. And that's where I kind of felt with, okay, this is – how many times have you seen this script before? You get a weird early game of the season. Top 10 team doesn't come out looking so hot. It's a tie game at halftime. But Florida State, they got a good defense. They're going to figure things out. And we go into the fourth quarter, and it's still tied. And Georgia Tech immediately scores to start the fourth quarter on another long, amazing drive that the Yellow Jackets had. And Florida State was able to recover. I mean, not often you see a fourth quarter where it's essentially – one play of a drive and then 2 full drives, one by either side. But Georgia Tech able to march down the field again, get a game-winning field goal, and the Yellow Jackets are sitting at the top of the standings before week 1 even starts, and Florida State is the first team in ACC history to be 17th in the conference.
God, I mean, what a disaster for Florida State. I feel, I've kind of taken back up writing, something I was doing in college, and, it's got me all sorts of creative juices flowing here.
You've told me about this, and I'm terrified for what's about to happen.
Yeah, we got a quick ode to memorialize. Obviously, Florida State's now done season. Dear Noles Nation, do you remember what it used to be? On top of the mountain, riding high with Jimbo and Jameis. A dynasty seemed assured, only to be ruined by greed and crab legs. Whispers of glory, though, seem to be on the horizon yet again. The chosen one, Jordan Travis, leading the way, however, struck it down in the heat of battle, emptying the throne once more for the Noles, only to be finished off by the Jackets of Gold. There you go. The ode to Florida State. No, the season isn't over. It was a disaster. That was maybe the most empty-calorie performance I've ever seen by a quarterback, highly touted as DJ Uiagalelei is. Katie didn't make the plays to win the game.
Well, I mean,
He was just there. There was
a stat that was shown that, it got posted all over Twitter.
Yeah. Yep.
The 12 for 14, in the first half, and your average yards per play is -1 or -0.1. You cannot run. This is the same problem I had at Clemson with him. He has the ability to air it out. If you remember the COVID year, Clemson plays at Notre Dame and he throws for over 400 yards.
Yeah.
He has the ability to air it out. But coaches do not trust him to throw the ball beyond 5 yards. And that when you have an offense like that is very geared towards 5-yard passes and under and running the ball, you're going to start stacking the box more and more and more. You're going to get 7. You're going to get 8. You're going to get creative with it to see what you want to do. That's exactly what Georgia Tech did. They were able to bully Florida State through the run game. I mean, this is a Georgia Tech team that ran for over 200 yards a game last year, and they were able to do it again. And it's just unbelievable to see. This was one of those games that you wanted to see a better start to the year. If you remember how week 0 was last year, you had Notre Dame obliterating Navy over in Ireland.
Yeah, kind of.
You wanted to see a better game to get the year started. And not only did we get one good game, every game was somehow good for week 0 this year. We're going to get into that more, but just what a nightmare start for Florida State. Just cannot be said anymore.
Since we are the guys who stares at stats, quick quiz for you without looking. How many 40-plus yard plays did Florida State produce in that game?
I want to say maybe 1 at most.
0,
I could think of, but yeah, 0
offensively. With 0 40-plus yard plays. None. You can't have that if you're the 10th-rate team in the country. You mentioned DJ Uiagalelei having the arm. They've got to showcase it. And what does that say about him and, the third team now? And a coach still doesn't want to trust him to unleash deep? I mean, you mentioned Georgia Tech stacking the box and the offense Florida State was running. You know who runs that type of offense, that little quick hit 5? Bad teams, small teams that know they don't have any vertical threats. They don't have the talent to throw deep. Think Kent State with Dre Archer. I mean, back in the day, he cranked out a bunch of yards, but they knew they couldn't go deep on anybody, so it was quick hits, right? Guys in space. That works for teams that don't have talent. But Florida State has talent. They've got receivers. They've got running backs. They've got them.
Yep.
How do you not? And they tried. There was a couple times they tried to connect, and it just didn't happen. But Georgia Tech, I mean, it's kind of I wouldn't say bittersweet, but here's the problem for Georgia Tech going forward, okay? This is just one of 5 ranked games they've got on the schedule. They will still have to take on Notre Dame, NC State, and Miami now. All those games are at home for Georgia Tech. We'll see what happens there. They do have to face Georgia in the regular season on the road, so that's the toughest road test. What happens with the Yellow Jackets? Run the ball, says Brett Key. Can they continue to do that? The ACC is wide open. We'll get to that later, maybe. I don't know. Maybe this is a sneaky statement win for Georgia Tech.
Yes, and we'll talk about that more when the ACC tier list video we do comes out, because I'll share more of what I think is capable from Georgia Tech, kind of what I thought before this game to thinking more after it now, and we'll share a little bit more there. But, yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
My 2 biggest takeaways for the Yellow Jackets, got to get Jamal Hayes as many touches as he can handle. They mentioned on the broadcast, 5'9", 175, plays much bigger than that, was explosive. And Haynes King showed all the qualities you would want to see out of DJ Uiagalelei. Not necessarily, razzle-dazzling people, but was tough, played smart, and made the plays when needed, right? 2 quarterbacks that, when you look at the stats, did not have great days, but wildly different narratives for those 2 quarterbacks coming out of this game. So definitely an interesting one going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I thought of. That was kind of one of the jokes I saw being spread over social media. The 3 words you need to know about Georgia Tech this year are Jamal Haynes King.
Yeah.
You just combine them together. Georgia Tech playing smart. That's what you expect them to do. They're a smart school anyway. But Georgia Tech just able to get a massive win to start the season. And, I mean, things can only go up from here. I mean, yes, they can go down, but I don't think they will.
It's week 0 positivity.
It's week 0 positivity. Florida State, that's the beauty of the 12-team playoff. This doesn't derail your season like it would have last year. Last year, we would have had, your season is over before the season could even get started, losing to a team like Georgia Tech. But you've got plenty of opportunities to try to get back into it. Will they take advantage of them, though? That's a story for another video. We'll have to see as things go down the line. But Florida State losing to Georgia Tech to start the year. Just what an absolute shock. And then we go from that game all the way over from Ireland to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Some real sicko ball, baby.
You watch a 3 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time here, 2 o'clock Mountain Time. This game had just about everything you could want. You have scoop and scores. You've got a windstorm that just shows up in the middle of nowhere during the third quarter. A nearly blown 17-point lead, followed by a blown 17-point lead by New Mexico. And Montana State, a huge win. FCS beating an FBS, but that doesn't even matter. Montana State was a 13-point favorite anyway.
13 and a half. They're almost 2-touchdown favorite.
I mean, Montana State, top 5 team in FCS this year. New Mexico, it's game 1 for Bronco Mendenhall. You thought, okay, he's one of those coaches that kids are going to play hard for. Even if they're not good. New Mexico was not a good team last year. You still had a great day to, rally the troops a bit, win the game, get a big upset win, which, it doesn't seem like it, but that's the way Vegas plays sometimes. Yeah. You get a nice statement to get the season started, and then everything just falls apart in 5 minutes. I mean, a 93-yard run by Adam Jones here to make it a 3-point game. New Mexico has 2 back-breaking drops on third downs and consecutive drives. That really took some of the momentum out of their just entire building, even, to be honest. I would say wind out of their sails, but, the wind already kind of did that.
The wind was
early.
there, yeah.
It already did that early in the game, knocked a camera down and everything off the top of the stadium. But Montana State able to get a big win there with a team that really just wanted to run the ball the majority of the day. They finally got going late with it. You saw the good results.
Well, that was kind of the thing, watching this. I was enamored by this game. This was great prime time, week 0 stuff because, like all the narratives you mentioned, New Mexico's a home underdog by 2 touchdowns to an FCS school. And you think, oh, they've got no talent. They're not given a chance in this game. I mean, you know how bad you have to be a home underdog, much less to an FCS school. That's rough. But they come out showing great fire. The defense, I mean, my goodness, the scoop and scores, right? Montana State looked like they were nervous. It's like you're playing in New Mexico. You got the momentum with you, if you will. And New Mexico did a great job capitalizing on it early. But that run game, Montana State wore down the Lobos defense, who was out there a lot because the offense kind of sputtered at times when they shouldn't, and that's what got him in the end. I do think New Mexico, as much as it might seem to the casual, don't put your head down on this loss. You showed a lot of really good things that, let's be honest, Mountain West after, Boise State, maybe a little up in the air. You're not going to go win the conference, but you could have a much improved season under year 1 of Bronco Mendenhall. And, a guy that kind of caught my eye, I felt like doing the right things was Devin Dampier. Remember, just a sophomore out of Tucson. So, kind of undersized, but I like what he showed in that game. You just got to find a way to take what you did good and apply it going forward. The tough part there is Cade. The next 2 games for the Lobos, on the road at Arizona, on the road at Auburn. Not easy to round out your non-conference.
All I'll say is all the motivation you need is if New Mexico State can win at Auburn, New Mexico can as well. That is all the main motivation you need there, I think, for the Lobos. But still, like you said, this is one of those games that there's a lot to take from it. I really do think there's a lot of unique formations we saw. We saw a few wing T formations. Yeah. You'll see that in 2024 very often. Broncos got them playing well to start the year, and you just got to keep that going. I know it sucks with the loss and everything. You look at that score and say, 21 points unopposed in the fourth quarter. What is there positive to take away from that? But you got to remember, this is one of the best FCS teams. We don't talk about the FCS a lot, but there truly are some teams that can compete with the middle of the pack in the FBS. This is not a loss to be truly ashamed. Remember, you're underdogs in this game for a reason. Yeah. You're playing a really talented team. But that will take us to, you talked about this being prime time. We got a real prime time, 7 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. You say this was painful. I say this was the game of the day, nearly. This was the game of the day I kind of thought going into it. Then obviously Georgia Tech, Florida State happens. But this is the one I was looking forward to. SMU makes their ACC debut near the mountains of Nevada. And it went about as horribly as you could have expected for 3 quarters. Preston Stone, highly touted quarterback. A lot of people said SMU. A lot of people in their fan base thought, hey, we can come in and compete with the ACC year 1 just because of the talent we have. We already won the American last year. And reality came out and punched them as hard as they could on a cold day, too. They talked about the elevation a little bit. Talking about 400 feet above sea level in Dallas. You go up to nearly 5,000 feet above sea level out in Reno. It was nearly, I want to say, between 50 and 60 degrees when that game was played, which if we get some of that weather here, I'm sure SMU would have appreciated it as well. But just what a brutal game for 3 quarters for SMU. You come in, Preston Stone throws an interception, second play of the game. He ends up getting benched for a little bit at one point, 3 for 10, 40 yards in that one pick. And Nevada's not really doing anything. They take advantage of, a bad snap over a punter's head. They slowly start to get it together with a few running QB plays, and slowly that opens up the run game a bit more. You get some passes. Nevada's on top. They're up 24-13, and then just everything that could have went wrong for the Wolfpack did. SMU finally got some momentum going. They got those big chunk plays working for them. I mean, you could look at it, R.J. Merrill on the receiving yards, 8 catches, 162 and a TD. That all came in the second half. You talk about a monster tight end for this entire season, already putting up a statement game in week 0. SMU has the ability to be legit, but moments like this, a lot of ACC people thought, this is a team that's supposed to come in and compete with us. Are you serious? You had to get away with it now with a 5-point win on the road, which, by the way, stat of the day, this is the first time SMU's ever won at Reno.
Really?
1-2. They had not played here since the early 2000s. Finally got a win here.
Oh, man. Well, I think is what happened is SMU was on the party train a little bit too much for joining the ACC. Maybe got a little bit of that Irish whiskey earlier from the Florida State game. I don't know. Guys were apparently on the bus. Maybe they partied a little too much, had to use the bathroom, empty it out, and they just were not feeling it. Sleptwalk through this game, did SMU. And I think the one big takeaway from this, a couple, this win by SMU for Nevada doesn't speak that Nevada is necessarily good. SMU just sleptwalked through it. I think that's obvious, right? But Preston Stone, you talk about the hype with him, a guy that was 28 touchdowns last year to only 6 picks, was over the 3,000-yard mark. The one big weakness that was kind of exposed in this game, and it almost really bit him, is that he's not accurate. He is on a career basis right now, 428 attempts on his passing. Okay, in his career has completed just 59% of those. He was 17 for 30 in this game. He's got to be better. You can't be a top-flight quarterback nowadays. I mean, Cade, back in the day in the 70s and 80s, 56%, who cared, or 59, right?
Anything over 50, you're taking that. That's
right.
good.
Nowadays, though, we're talking about pushing 70% as that's your mark to be somewhat elite. Anything below 67. I mean, Lamar's accuracy was, 64 in college, and they said, oh, my God, he's inaccurate. He can't complete, the check down throws. So you're at 59%. You got to really do some hard looking in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? Is it being too risky with the ball? I mentioned the touchdown to pick ratio. I mean, it was great last year, but this game, 1-to-1, not great. So decision-making's got to be better for Preston Stone if SMU really does want to compete in the ACC because, like I said, they've got talent. It showed in this game. It showed a little late in just in time, but it showed up.
It did. I mean, this was must-see TV. I mean, I said it earlier. This was the game I was looking forward to the most of the day. Coming into the day, it did not disappoint. I mean, it had, it didn't have everything like the New Mexico game did. It didn't have the crazy weather elements and things like that. But you get an amazing comeback story like that where SMU just looked, dead to right through 3 quarters. Absolutely nothing going their way. You get a few positive moments, and here comes SMU. Nevada put themselves in some really bad positions. You have to try to get the age-old, please do not commit a safety here, ball at the 1-yard line. Immediately you get run into in the end zone. SMU takes advantage of that. But SMU also, some weird discipline stuff happened in this game. It was mentioned a few times that, on the sidelines, the team was basically standing still and quiet. Just no energy whatsoever. Nevada was taking the game over in the second quarter, heading into the third. And there's, the unsportsmanlike for spitting on a player and things like that. There's a lot of stuff SMU's got to clean up from this. But you can never have a game where it's, you're only down 11 points and just be absolutely dead on the sideline, treating it as, well, we got nothing going on here.
Well, and we've seen it, me and you personally, we've seen it whether it's college, high school ranks. Sometimes the pros, not often, where you overlook your opponent.
Yeah.
You get to thinking that you're good enough, you could just overlook them. And football especially has a way of reminding you very quickly that you cannot do that. If you want to be a winning program, you cannot do that. So they escape with the record, say, hey, well, at least we won Florida State. I'm not sure they feel better about it, but they're 1-0 on the season. At least for now, still have hope in the season.
And we go even further west. We've slowly been making our way west throughout the day, recapping week 0, and we end it with The game of all games.
Yes.
Hawaii and Delaware State. Hawaii, a 39.5-point favorite coming into this one.
And at one point ballooned to 50
Yeah,
because all the crazy travel
exactly.
issues with Delaware State.
Absolutely. I mean, it was Delaware State misses a bus to get on their flight, which, by the way, you got to fly from New York City all the way out to Hawaii.
Jeez.
So a lot of things are going on. And listening to the Hawaii broadcast, they mentioned it a little bit, and I agree with it. Sometimes those are the moments where, memories are made and team bonding really happens. Yeah. I could think of examples where there have been games that you wouldn't think they'd be close. A weird travel issue almost helps them more than it hurts them, and you get a weirder game. And I can't think of anything weirder than 14-14 mid to early third quarter, and you start thinking, okay, this is not supposed to happen at all. Delaware State, not a good FCS team last year. Not really projected to be a good one this year. Hawaii still trying to figure things out, trying to get that run-and-shoot offense even more back in the system like it used to be, and it just wasn't there in the first half. It's also hard when you have crazy weather elements. Keep in mind, there's a tropical storm around Hawaii right now.
Yeah,
they were expected 40-mile-an-hour gusts. There was a moment where it was raining in the middle of the field, but both end zones were dry. It was just, a wacky weather day across week 0, and Hawaii, to their credit, once Delaware State tied this thing up, it looked like this is starting to go sideways. They got their act together. They established that passing game, got a little bit of the run game going, and some good special teams plays as well. Hawaii ends up pulling away a 35-14 win.
Yeah, I mean, it was a total team effort. It kind of – they showed some of that grit. I don't know if I wouldn't say sleptwalk after they got up 14-0, but I felt – watching that one, it seemed they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit, maybe, try to be something they're not after that. Really, for New Mexico, I think, for Hawaii.
Yeah, so I don't know where New Mexico comes
I don't know where New Mexico comes into this. But for Hawaii, the big thing throughout the season, you mentioned the run and shoot, that's going to be a big factor because they talked about on the broadcast, it's looking to be, they want it to be a pure form of that. So it's really dependent on that timing, on that, getting ahead early and downs, right? Setting up a 2nd and 6, a 2nd and 5. You can't have negative plays early in the downs. So Braden Schrager, the quarterback, is going to have to be on that. We talk about Preston Stone's accuracy. Schrager had some of that as well. A little bit more explosive with the big plays, though, right? That's what kind of saved them in the end, allowed them to get comfortable. He's going to have to be tuned in to what that offensive flow is, because Hawaii is going to be one of those teams that if you want to succeed, you got to take advantage of guys in space because you don't have the athletes to go deep a lot of times, right, once you start getting into conference play. So can they do that? I don't know. Will the Hawaii test be fun throughout the season? It seems like it might be, Cade.
Just a little bit. It's one of those that if you ever get the opportunity to stay up and watch one of these games late at night, you won't get to next week. They play UCLA at 1:30 Hawaii time, which, hey, they're talking about that as well. A national game for Hawaii against UCLA to open the season. They're expecting the big sellout crowd of 15,000 people there, which that's because they're still trying to get the new Aloha Bowl built. It's been a years-long effort at this point.
And a somewhat legal battle with the local governments. So that's always could tie things up for who knows how long.
Yeah, still trying to get all that going. You still like to see big wins for Hawaii like this. You look at it and go, Delaware State, that's not a big win. When you're playing out there on the islands, any win is a big win.
Absolutely.
But, folks, that will wrap things up here looking at the 4 games of Week 0. As always, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Were we too hard on Florida State? Were we too soft on Florida State? I don't know.
Hey, drop those takes. We'll air them out. We will give our thoughts on your takes.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that we're trying to get more into this year. Last year didn't really have as much going on, like I said, beginning of the video. Busy schedule. Life happens. But trying to get back into the swing of things now. We hope you enjoyed. And until next time, have a good one, everybody.